In this video, we talk about the 10 absolute worst cities to retire to in the United States. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
Unlike filming a video on the best place or places to retire, which can be quite subjective depending on who you are, filming one on the worst places to retire is pretty straightforward if you agree on 3 no-go metrics, which the vast majority of you will. In this video, we're going to look at 10 cities to avoid based on pain points for retirees and, frankly, most people. And that is access to quality health care, the cost to live there, and the crime rate. This video will discuss the top 3 or 4 in each category. And to be super clear, if you are at the top of the category, that is a very bad thing. We're going to start off with crime rates, violent and property crime combined, followed by cost of living, and we're going to end with the shocking healthcare systems that exist in several cities in this country. And let me start off with 2 points that are very important. We could go deep into a community and find a community that has extremely high crime rates, but only has a population of 20 or 30,000. There are quite a few of those in this country. But to make this meaningful to you, we've kept the population at 200,000 or higher. The second point is that within cities and even towns, there are good neighborhoods and there are bad neighborhoods. If your neighborhood doesn't represent what you're seeing here, there's a good chance that you live in a good neighborhood. All right, let's go. Cities with the highest crime rate. This data comes from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, CBS News, and the Property Club of New York City. Number 1 is Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis is the birthplace of rock and roll. Graceland is in Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis lived in Memphis, Tennessee, obviously. 24 of the first 97 members of the inductees of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame lived within 100 miles of Memphis, Tennessee. It's home to Sun Studio, the original label that signed Elvis Presley, and it's known as the distribution hub of America because Memphis is where FedEx started back in the early 1970s. With all this amazing history, let's talk about what's happening behind the scenes in Memphis. First, it's running at an 8.3% crime rate. And what does that mean? That means that 8.3 people out of 100, out of every 100, has experienced either property crime or a violent crime of some sort. This is 237% higher than the national average and the highest in the nation. Next up is St. Louis, Missouri, home of the St. Louis Arch and the birthplace of the ice cream cone at the 1904 World's Fair. It's also home to the starting point of the Lewis and Clark expedition and the first public school kindergarten class. It's also one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. With a population of 293,000, it's down from 2010, 310,000, and 400,000 in 1990. Lower population means lower taxes. Lower taxes means lower police protection. Currently, the crime rate is 8.12%, which makes St. Louis higher than the national average. Number 3 is Oakland, California. Oakland is home to Lake Merritt, Jack London Square, Fox Theater, and the Redwood Regional Park. But Oakland is also well known for crime. Maybe even more well known than it actually should be, given the direction of crime within the city. Crime levels have improved significantly, for the better, of course, but they still aren't where they should be because Oakland is number 3 in the country in terms of crime rate. The population was 434,000 in 2021, up from 365,000 in 1999, which means that it's moving in the right direction. More population means more tax dollars means more police protection. Still, Oakland's crime rate is 6.89%, which is 175% higher than the national average. It's also worth pointing out that Oakland is one of the most expensive cities to live in the United States, coming in at 97.7% of the cost of living in New York City. We'll get to the cost of living later on in this video and discuss this point again. Next, let's talk about the cost of living. Unless you have an unlimited budget, this will be a very important part of the overall video for you. And just to give you some data, to live in Memphis, Tennessee, that would cost you 65% on average of the cost to live in New York City. Everything in this section is benchmarked versus New York City. By the way, the source of this information is a service called Numbeo. It's a great data service and gives great information. All right, number 1, Honolulu, Hawaii. Honolulu has a population of 345,000. That hasn't changed materially in the last 20 years. In fact, in 2010, it was $339,000. While the city is close to everything from Pearl Harbor to Diamond Head, it is really expensive, coming in at 102% of the cost of living in New York City. It's also worth pointing out, since we're on the subject anyway, that Honolulu bills itself as one of the safest cities in the country, so if you have an unlimited budget and you're worried about safety, this may be a good place to look. Number 2 is New York City itself, coming in at, 100% of the cost of living in New York City. New York is known for its culture, the theater district, and tourist attractions. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out that New York City is also a very dangerous place to live, at least currently. It's coming in the bottom 20% in terms of safety. That means 80% of the cities in this country are safer than New York City. Number 3 is San Francisco, coming in at 99.7% of the cost of living in New York City. San Francisco is known for cable cars, the Golden Gate Bridge, the San Francisco Giants, Alcatraz, and of course, Fisherman's Wharf. Finally, number 4 in this category is Oakland, California, coming in at 98.7% of the cost of living in New York City. And as mentioned before, it is also one of the most dangerous cities to live in this country. Finally, the last category is healthcare. Now, crime is crime. The statistics are pretty easy to understand, and costs are easy to understand as well. But how do you define good healthcare versus bad healthcare? Well, as it turns out, it's actually pretty easy. The information presented here comes from the Center for Disease Control, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and Medicare and Medicaid offices. Bad healthcare is measured by the percentage of people without insurance, the percentage of people in fair to poor health in a city, the percentage of people who could not receive needed care in the last year due to excessive costs, the long average emergency room wait time, low healthcare workers per 100,000 people, a low number of total healthcare facilities per 100,000 people, and the number of healthcare facilities per square mile. And in fact, no matter how you look at that data, it directionally comes to the same conclusion. All right, the worst city to live in for healthcare is Memphis, Tennessee. I will also point out that having bad healthcare in the country's most dangerous city is a bad combination for anybody considering retiring there. Number 2 is Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage doesn't jump out at you the way that the others would, because generally when you think of bad healthcare, you think of crime and poverty. But that doesn't appear to be the case here. One of the biggest issues for Anchorage is they just can't get staff. A lower level of staff per 100,000 citizens means that healthcare prices go up. In fact, the average cost for healthcare in Anchorage is $11,000. That's not the average retiree's cost. That's the average cost. It is the highest cost in the nation. Number 3 is Indianapolis. And this one relates to the politics around providing health insurance to low-income individuals. Medical facilities and practitioners are making decisions about whether they want to be in Indianapolis if they may or may not get reimbursed with medical insurance. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. YouTube uses the number of likes in a video to raise the video in the search results, and I want to help as many people as possible. Also, if you like this video, you'll probably like that video on why retiring to Portugal should be at the top of your list. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.